Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I'm looking at a Dell P2412h monitor today. This is one of a pair that I have at home that I use, and the power supply in this thing has failed. Now in a monitor or a TV it's generally known as a power board because it's just a single circuit board in the screen. And it's a very common failure on TVs and monitors. And it usually manifests itself in a manner that the power light will be on, and it will often be blue or green or whatever and indicate that there is a signal, but the screen will be off. And in this instance the screen comes on and flashes for a split second and then cuts out again, but the light stays on blue, and the screen is detected by the computer and everything. So what's happening is that the main power supply to the display has failed, but there is still the sort of electronics controller circuit working. So the computer sees the screen, there's just no output. Now, I have ordered a replacement power board for this, which I had to ship in from China via AliExpress, and so we're going to change that out. So let's take this one apart. Now I think this screen is a pry apart job, yes it is. So I just basically need to get a prying tool in this gap here and just pry the front off, I think, on this one. Yeah, there we go, we've got a gap starting there now. I have to be very careful, it's very easy to leave marks when doing this, so I'm just being very careful that when I'm pressing the prying tool in, I'm shoving it into the gap, so all the force is being directed under the plastic, not on top of it, and this will make sure that I won't leave marks. However, be very careful because, as I say, metal prying tools are vicious and will just mark the plastic. So this shouldn't put up too much of a fight because I have had it apart before to do the initial diagnosis on it. No. Okay, I'm just going to do this bit off camera just because my camera rig won't go high enough to show this off. Okay, now I want to be a little bit careful in the bottom right because there's a ribbon cable connecting these buttons up. I don't want to tear that out. Now this ribbon cable, this connects underneath the panel. I should just, in fact, I think I can just lay this bezel to one side. No, I'm just going to disconnect it and just take away the possibility of breaking it. So I've got 3 screws down here. Let's detach those. There we go. That can lay out. I can. No, just whatever. There we go. It's not critical that we disconnect this, but now it's disconnected, I've removed the possibility of breaking it off. So, okay. So this will now just lift out. Well, something's clinging there. Let me just have a peer under and see what's going on. Okay, the panel, right, I think we want to turn the screen over, actually. I'm just going to flip the whole lot over. And I just need to negotiate this around the light. Okay, right. So now I've flipped it over. What was happening there was I lifted up the panel, but the control unit here wanted to stay in the case. So now I've flipped it all over, I've just lifted the back case off of the monitor. So let's just detach that wire there. Now that's particularly happened because, again, where I've been in this thing before, this is no longer taped to the back of the LCD. So come on, come out. Don't fight. Oh, it's a locking connector, there we go. Always look for locking levers. Okay, right, now we can actually focus on this properly. So, firstly, I'm going to disconnect the panel. So there's the main LCD connector. So we're going to disconnect this, and then let's take out that as well so I can see it visible. And now there's nothing else attaching this unit to the back of the monitor. There we go. So let's get our LCD out of the way so that doesn't get broken. Surprisingly thin unit, actually. Not that much. Well, it is thicker than a laptop, but whatever. I'm used to seeing the iMac LCDs that are big and huge. Alright, so here's our control unit. So there's our power board, and that's the controller for the LCD. So this is basically a power supply, and that's what actually drives the monitor. So this is what is broken and needs replacing. So I'm going to undo these screws so we can take this out. Right, now a little quick safety briefing. Anyone here who has watched one of my recent videos on power supply repair will know that I gave myself a belt from a little time capsule power supply. So even small power supplies like these can still give you a knock if you touch them in the wrong places. Now, the trick to knowing where you can and cannot touch them is knowing what part of it is actually going to shock you. So in this instance, what you need to look out for is the main capacitor, which is this fella here. Look for a big, huge capacitor on it. Now this is insulated so I can touch this, however the legs coming out of it, that's where I don't want to touch. And likewise they correspond to about there-ish, so I don't want to touch there. However, all this area around the board, I can touch that no problem. So these are the fellas you've got to watch out for, they're the scary ones. Right, let's disconnect this thing. And I need to disconnect it from this end really, so I'm going to take out the control board as well and just get this metal out of the way. I've got to take all of this off and everything. Alright, what's holding on? Cable coming from there, let's just detach you. There we go, and let's just lift that whole shooting match out. Alright, there we go. So there's the other side of these boards. So as you can see, the power board is actually a pretty simple bit of kit. This is just a switching power supply that steps down to whatever voltage it uses. Then it divides it up a bit for a few different power rails and also for the backlight and things like that. It's fairly exotic because it has to do fairly clever voltage management for the brightness control, which is why there's a surprising number of wires there. So let's disconnect that because I think my replacement board has this flex on it. Are you going to come out? Oh, it's another locking connector, that's why. These are all locking levers, these things. Right, let's put you to one side. Okay, here's my replacement board. So let's do a quick comparison. Now, when I was searching for this, I searched for that number there, 4H1GH02A02. Now this, I actually searched for A00, but as you can see, the boards are visually identical. Obviously that must be some kind of sub-revision, and hopefully that means this one's got better components on it and won't fail. But we'll see. However, as you can see, the boards are visually identical, and that's good enough for me. And as I say, I picked this up from AliExpress. You can find them on eBay sometimes, but it's a bit hit and miss. If you do spot one on eBay, it will probably do fine. It'll either be second used or it'll be refurbed. If it's refurbed, it probably means that the capacitors have all been replaced. No idea if this is refurbed or not. It's just sold as a replacement. But I'm happy that these are identical. I'm going to remove that cable because I've already got it attached elsewhere in the screen. So let's take that out, and now we can put this out of the way in the bin pile. The reason why I'm not replacing capacitors on my old one is because the fault is actually intermittent. For me, when I've left the computer off for a day or so, it's got a mind of its own basically. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And every time I bring it in here and try and measure those caps, they seem to work and it lights up. And then the next day I take it home and it starts messing me about again. So I was like, no, I don't have time for that. The replacement board cost me about 15 or 20 quid, I think. So considering a brand new monitor is going to set me back about 180 quid for one of these bad boys, you know, a 20 quid power board and, you know, half an hour of my time in the evening to replace it is a pretty economic replacement. And to be honest, even if I was doing this for a customer, it would probably still be economic because these monitors aren't cheap. especially if they've got a newer one. So, okay. Start putting screws back in. There we go. Right, let's get our LCD panel back. Right, that's going to go that way round. So we've got this flex going over the top that goes to the front panel buttons. Plug that back in. We've got the main LCD connector that needs to go back in down here. We've got the backlight power. And what's missing from there? That was this one that I took off. Oh, of course, that's the, yeah, this is the USB. Right, okay, so I'm going to arrange this roughly where it's supposed to be, which I'm telling from the marks of where the tape were. Then we're going to put, I'm going to have to swing this out of the way so I can close the top panel. There we go. My camera rig sits about 50 centimeters above the desk, so obviously big objects like this won't clear it. Right, so now I'm just going to shuffle that around so it sits over the top of everything. There we go, that's flush to the desk now. So I know it's sitting on top of the panel, and I can also see that the holes have lined up for the VESA mounts, so I know that everything is in the correct place now. So we're going to slide it off the edge of the desk so I can pick it up and turn the whole lot over, like that. And now we just want to make sure that this fellow is sticking out so I can reconnect the front panel buttons. And I can screw that back into there. Okay, and swinging camera rig again. Alright, so now we'll just make sure that ribbon cable is going to slot down the side, which it is. You can just see that going in there. And now I should just be able to just pinch all this together. There we go. No cables found. Right, that's good enough for me. That's what I need to see. So yeah, hopefully now this will last. Time will tell on that one, because as I say, it was an intermittent fault. However, I'm quite happy that now I've changed that power board, that this fella's going to actually carry on working now, and I don't have to spend money on new monitors. So, go fix the screen, you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Goodbye for now.